32, this stuff disappears when you heat it up.
So it burns out pretty quickly?
Oh, it burns out really clean.
Right, so you can make castles.
So yeah, you just make one of these parts and you can fill it with plaster and bake it. And about 230 Celsius, it just, well, most of it runs out and the rest of it just vaporizes. It doesn't leave char.
What do you use to get the some vector file, whatever it is, to design or to draw?
Designing it, you can use anything that will chuck out an STL file. My favourite for quick and dirty stuff is Art of Illusion, and a lot of this stuff was done using Art of Illusion. But Art of Illusion has problems doing some Boolean operations.
So does Blender.
Yeah, they all do, but BRL-CAD is not so prone, and if it does fail, it tells you where it fails. So you then know which part to move. Whereas if you've got a stack of Boolean objects in Art of Illusion, you don't know where the failure is. But BRL-CAD is only slightly less obtuse than Blender to that. You can do everything from a command line.
Yeah, I don't like command line anymore.
You can do LS of your objects.
I kind of grew out of that since DOS.
Yeah. But it's actually quite a nice way of working. And Ed uses SolidWorks to do a lot of the design parts because he's got a student license for SolidWorks. Yeah. It produces STLs, and half the time I have to take these STLs from Ed, run them through one of the mesh toolkits, and simplify it or simplify in ALI or something like that. Otherwise, you end up with like 3 billion little tiny triangles out of.
There's a modifier in Blender called decimator, which reduces the number of triangles down to a reasonable number.
Yeah.
You could use Mastercam for this too, couldn't you?
There are lots of tools that you can use, and also it's now starting to appear on thingiverse.com some parametric software that is basically little Python programs that will create parametric G-code. So it
SchemeForge.
yes, well, not quite. SchemeForge is a slicer. All right, SchemeForge is great. I use SchemeForge now. It's got a lot of advantages over the ordinary software, over the standard Java software. It's lengthier to use and it's hell to set up, but once you have got it set up, it's great. So all the parts in that were designed using BRL-CAD and sliced and diced in ScanForge. And yes, that is a 2.5 mil hex key sticking out the top of it.
So where do you see the project going in the future?
Where do I see it going? In different directions. There are people who want to make a really cool high-res 3D printer, and there are people who want to make really available 3D printers, and there are people who want to create a machine that can also be used for milling or electrospark erosion or whatever.
Some real division in the path.
Oh, absolutely. But this is good because there will be a whole load of new technologies that people will develop out of this. And when they're ready, you can just cherry pick the best lot and slam it all together for RepRap version 3. I have absolutely no problem doing that. It's already gone. It's already gone commercial. I have no problem with the guy Zach going commercial, and best of luck to him. He's actually been very good to the RepRap community and making free boards for developers and things like that. You know, you run a design, you put together a design, he'll get some boards made up, that kind of thing. But what he's done is he's taken the design so that it's easy to mass produce using conventional technologies, and that's not the direction I wanted to go. On the other hand, the guy has very kindly increased the number of people who own things that can make RepRaps, so he's increased the user pool. That's good. Yeah, so I suppose you want me to fire it up and print something, don't you?
I'd like to see it. One of the cool things, I guess, about open source is that if it does diverge into 3 different paths, it doesn't necessarily divide it by 3. It creates 3 new opportunities that people then find interesting, and then grows it perhaps by feeding 3.
Yep.
So I
I
would say
know.
that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Almost like sexual and asexual
Yeah.
reproduction or something like.
I know what the next
It's
next
the next
version
iteration.
is, all right? Because we've been talking about the next version heavily amongst the core group, and basically the idea is to simplify this. This is a version 1.0, and it works, and it's not the best way to do it, but it worked, and it was the first one. And through everything we've done with this, we've learned enough to have a second cut. There's a lot of things that we want to do in version 2. I dare say we won't get all of them done, but we're trying
Good to
to
have
stick to the
ambitious.
list. Yeah.
So this has enabled you to gain insight.
Yes. This is a 1.0. You know, I never use 1.0 of anything. Right. Well.
Oh, I really like the aesthetic of the objects in there.
Yeah.
I think it's really.
There's
A Scandinavian glass designer that designs glassware, and it looks a lot like stuff she does. I hope we don't get sued for breach of whatever, but yeah.
I just like the way it looks like 1.0.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is very
That's the coolest thing.
1.0.
Looks like
So,
yeah.
the
sorry, what were you going to say?
On the website, you've got some parts that look really smooth, and the stuff that looks, you can actually see the layers. Is
Yeah.
that just the type of plastic you use, or?
no, it's just that they're different ages.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you compare something like that with something like that, you can see that there's been a bit of progress in there. The corners are rounded, the layers more even. It hasn't fragmented in the middle. There's a truly awful corner block down there, absolutely ghastly, hidden away by all the brackets. And I mean, it's just different ages of the thing. This is a relatively recent one. That's an old one, and they look pretty much the same when you look at them like that. But the old one had to be run off at a much lower speed, and it's much denser. Uses a lot more plastic to do exactly the same job. And I had to drill out the holes because they're full of crud. And the new one is much lighter. It does exactly the same job. It builds in half the time, and I don't have to drill the holes out.
Is it as strong though?
It's probably not as terminally strong, but the point is that it will do the job.
Yeah.
And this is the only way I could build this one. This one I can tweak the density up if I want to. Right, but I don't have to make it dense. I made this one with a density of 0.78. Right, this is density of 1.
I suppose it's faster, is it?
Yes, much.
How long would it take?
This thing would take me, what, 2 or 3 hours?
And that's the last.
And the old one took a lot longer.
Yeah. The old one took about 6 or 7 hours.
That's a good speed increase.
Yep.